Republican-backed measure in the Texas House banning transgender youth from getting puberty blockers and hormone therapy was delayed Friday by Democratic lawmakers who sent the bill back to the Public Health Committee on a technicality. The same tactic was used Tuesday to delay a debate on the bill. Republican Representative Dustin Burrows tweeted Friday the bill, quote, will be heard next week. It won't be watered down. It will pass and become law, end quote. In April, a version of the bill passed the Texas State Senate on a party line vote. President Biden defended his son on MSNBC's The 11th Hour Friday, claiming his innocence. Hunter Biden is being investigated for alleged tax violations and lying on a gun application. The FBI and the Department of Justice believe they have sufficient evidence to bring charges against Biden, according to the Washington Post. MSNBC host Stephanie Rule asked the president if the DOJ charges Hunter, how it will affect his presidency.
First of all, my son's done nothing wrong. I trust him, I have faith in him, and it impacts my presidency by making me feel proud of him.
The Hunter Biden criminal probe is headed by Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss. Mike?
Fewer this weekend. Billionaire investor Warren Buffett said U.S. bank failures would have been catastrophic if the government did not intervene.
Would have been catastrophic, and that's why they were covered. And even though the FDIC limit is $250,000. That's the way the statute reads, but that is not the way the U.S. is going to behave any more than they're going to let the debt ceiling cause the world to go into turmoil.
Buffett was talking about the failures of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, where the government protected deposits over the FDIC insured level of $250,000. He also expressed support for raising the debt ceiling, blaming the delay on partisan politics. The chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway made the remarks Saturday during the company's annual meeting. Buffett also said that he was not surprised the financial institutions had failed because the U.S. banking system had become overly complicated. Joe Biden will not negotiate the debt ceiling with Republicans. During MSNBC's 11th Hour broadcast Friday, the president claimed no one had ever tied the budget and the debt ceiling together before. Biden accused former President Donald Trump of hurting the economy and claimed his economy was better than Trump's.
And the idea is someone for the first time is saying, unless you pass this ridiculous budget I have, which is the way I would characterize what the Republican MAGA budget is, unless you pass this budget, we're not going to increase the debt limit, and we're going to go bankrupt. The United States of America is going to renege for the first time in history on its debt. And you just can't, no one's ever tied them together before.
Now, Biden has accused Donald Trump of ballooning the national debt by 40% and sending the country into deep unemployment, which, of course, was the result of the pandemic. Meantime, Joe Biden touted his administration's job growth and low unemployment rates, while noting the most women in the workforce in 75 years and the lowest African-American unemployment rate, adding things are moving. Tim.
Mike, in a state where slavery was never legal, a California Reparations task force is recommending every qualifying black resident be paid up to $1.2 million. The final vote of the task force was Saturday following a public meeting. Fox News reports the funds would be distributed this way. Black residents impacted by redlining by banks would receive $3,366 for every year they lived in the state from the early 1930s to the late 1970s. Black residents could also receive about $2,300 in compensation for over-policing and mass incarceration for each year between 1970 and 2020. The recommendation from the 9-member panel was sent to state lawmakers and asked to include an apology to all qualifying individuals. Greg?
Let's talk with political scientist, author, and distinguished senior fellow for constitutional studies with the Texas Public Policy Foundation, Dr. Carol Swain. Doctor, welcome back to Victory News.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Swain, in that last story, the recommendations from the California Reparations Committee said nothing about slavery, the reason it was formed in the first place. When do you think this change in the issue happened?
Well, the thing about it, they don't want to mention slavery because probably most or a large percentage of those Black people in California are not descendants of slaves. And so they want to compensate as many people as possible. I see the legislation as purely symbolic. I doubt if any money will actually be paid out. And I believe that Governor Newsom has an incentive that has to do with his national political ambitions. If President Biden is pushed aside, if he doesn't run for re-election, I believe Newsom will be a strong contender. He will use his California push for reparations as a way to get Black support.
Do you think he would do it nationally? Propose on national reparations?
He would promise that nationally, and we know that would be very divisive, and it would be something that would just, again, it would further divide our nation, and it would do nothing to promote unity or racial healing. It's all a political ploy.
Okay.
And if he wants to do reparations, if there are white people out there that want to do reparations, then it should be private philanthropy. They can do whatever they want with their own money, but it should not be government money.
I agree with that, Doctor. Protesters in New York City blocked subway trains in the tunnels and stopped traffic in the street over Jordan Neely's death on the subway last week. We don't want anybody to die. Former Marine placed the young man in a chokehold. 2 other men helped subdue Neely. I want to get your perspective over this issue.
Well, first of all, Mr. Neely had serious mental health conditions, and he had been arrested or had been arrested, I believe, 44 times. He had pending criminal charges, which were felonies. If the law enforcement agencies and the mental health facilities had been monitoring people like him, he would not have been on the streets. He would have been somewhere getting care that he needed. So I would say the system and the government, they are responsible for his death. The 3 men that tried to subdue him were really 3 men that were trying to be good Samaritans. They were trying to protect other people on the train because the man had been violent in the past to other passengers. And so the left never lets a crisis go to waste. So this is a good crisis. They love to divide people along racial lines. They love to racialize everything unless it is a Black on white crime. Then we don't talk about those. Even if it is a hate crime, those are not to be discussed.
Right.
But if there's a way to divide the people by focusing on white-owned minority, to bring race into it, unfortunately, that's what the Democrats do because they believe that keeping us divided helps their political party. Right. Now that's all it's about.
That's all it's about. They cheered when Tucker Carlson was removed from Fox News after his dismissal. That came as a shock to many conservative viewers. You think it could turn into a good thing in the long run, though? Tell us why. I'm on the record of saying it's going to turn into a good thing because Tucker had a wide reach that went beyond Republicans and conservatives, and he is a truth speaker. And I believe that the American people are hungry for truth speakers. And he did a short 2-minute clip on Twitter that's gotten millions of views. Like, I mean, more than 24. At one time I saw 80 million. I don't know, but I do know that people are hungry for truth. Tucker will have a wide platform. Yes, he would. And you're right. People are hungry for truth. It's the truth that will set you free. And you're one Amen. Of those people that speak truth. So where can viewers find out more about you and your work? Well, I have a website, bethepeoplenews.com, carolimswain.com, and I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Look me up and follow me on one of my platforms. And yes, I do try to be a truth speaker. And you will hear the truth from Dr. Swain, I guarantee you. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us today. Thank you.